Alright, I want to start off by saying, Kol, Lord Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Akakodash. And double honors to the apostles of Jim Master that ruleth well. And to the hopefully elected scattered across the four corners, I want to say Shalom. Peace and blessings. And I'm not sure what I'm going to title this, but it's going to go into, dark skin. It's a narrate. Matter of fact, let's pull some things up. Dark skin. I had a video up from Tommy Sotomayor. He was pretty much saying he went into this topic about dark skin and how it's a bad stigmatization on being dark skinned. How if you went to school, etc., they always had dark skin jokes. Basically dark skin jokes is like fat. If you was a little fat kid growing up in school. But, Esau demonized and, made dark skin look very unhealthy, undesirable. Let me see dark skin people in America, because, hold on. A little bit better. So, Esau painted the narrate that, this was like a curse. In fact, Wesley Snipes. Go ahead. Take it back. Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes. So, boom. They pretty much demonized his look. Made it look nasty, horrible, undesirable, low. A lot of people, that were dark skinned. I remember, they had, how you say it, they didn't have much confidence, and then you had some guys that, if they had the complex like Michael Jordan, then they, did incredible things. They was highly athletic. They had a lot of talents. But, dark-skinned chicks, on the other hand, my goodness, man. I'm not even going to say a lot of you, man. They had a lot of, issues growing up. But my point is this, I say all this to say this, because this is all part of the war and the blow that Esau did to control Jake, and to paint the narrate that looking like an Edomite is, greater and better. And if you want a better outcome, if you were more fair or more light-skinned, it'll be a better outcome for you. So, damn it. I thought I just had it up, Salaki. Let's go to Revelation 1. Let's see where the Spirit takes me through this. So, Revelation 1 and 13, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. So it says, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool. Now let's look at woolly hair too, because again, this was another attack on Jake, so-called. This is going to be about Judah, because woolly hair, again, was demonized. What the hell they got going on now? Yeah, Esau. So boom. I'm just use her. This way you consider woolly hair. Well, here you go. Woolly with woolly hair. There you go. Yeah, matter of fact, I'm kind of glad they showed this because I was going to go there too but the ancient Egyptians being dark skinned and being, different. The ancient Egyptians being people of color. I remember it was a Hamite. Well, I'm not sure if he was a Hamite or not, but I think he could have been a Jake. But he pretty much said he didn't know anything about ancient Egypt until he came over to the America, over here to America. That history wasn't taught to the people in Africa. And again, I say this, Lord's will, you edified. Try to tie everything in together. But as you see the woolly hair, this is also demonized. And again, this is for you, Jakes, to lift up thy head, because, in the end times, the Lord has revealed who is his people. What is it? I believe Second Esdras, the 5th chapter. He talks about how the Lord, and out of everything on the earth, the Lord had chose one place, one people, one lily, and that's you Israelites. And us being Israelites, we come from all different shades of color. From a dark, even looking until, even to the lightest fair of complexions. But the thing about it, who the Lord ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, which his name was Yahushua. He's a dark-skinned man with woolly hair. But again, they had to push this image. Let's look at our nigga Jesus. They had to push, and again, when you look at Jesus, that's what you get. Right here. This is the main culprit. But they had to push this in. Again, this is not even woolly hair, man. And it's crazy how this lie has been able to go on for years. But this right here was depicted and set forth. So when you think about anything about the scriptures, you would think about this image, you would think about this infrastructure, you would think about this queendom, and when you look at these Edomites, and when you look at your conquerors, who's Lord over you, at the end of the day, you would think you would think the Lord is really dealing with him because he has the riches, yes, control over the earth. He does all types of, basically the Sook White Man does whatever he wants to, and as others. Let me get that real quick. So let me go up. Psalm 73:1. A psalm of Asaph. Truly Yahweh is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. And the Lord has washed ourselves clean, with hyssop, etc. You washed away our filthiness and gave us eyes to see and ears that can hear. So we actually have been given the gospel. But it says, but as for me, my feet were almost gone, my steps had well nigh slipped. Yeah. If the Lord didn't have not departed us through this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, we would have been like the 2/3, slipped, gone. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. So I think yeah. So again, let me go back to our nigga Jesus Christ. So this had to go This image had to go with this system. So when you saw this, and then when you left that fucking building temple, which was made with hands, as the scripture said, the Lord doesn't even deal in buildings with hands. You know, then you had the heaven and the hell doctrine and the other, doctrine, God loves all, and the Gentiles and all, your sweet old doctrines. And when you left that church building and you saw how that Edomite had so much prosperity and riches, you left that nasty black church, because it's crazy. Because even in certain people I know, and when they talk about the upcomings and they take you back to their old place where they grew up at, they showed me the Edomite church in the neighborhood, which was fancy, and they showed me their so-called black church, which was all bummy and broken and ran down. So again, when you left when you left that building, and you went back into reality society, this is what you saw. You envied, and you saw the prosperity of these Edomites. And then when you left, you saw yourself. You looked at your woolly hair, in which Esau demonized. He made you hang your head down low. He broke you. You didn't know who you were. You lost your identity. So again, he started ridiculing you. You became the reproach. He created an image for you. He destroyed your image, and then he gave you pretty much a character to be as. He turned you out to be an empty vessel, but that was all to the doings of this image right here, starting with it. So, for there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. There you go. Therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain. Violence covereth them as a garment. Yep, their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than their heart could wish. But it said they are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak lawfully. They set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth. And that's Esau, The nigga is very proud. When you even talk again, it's nothing due to the bickering, the fighting, and, demonizing dark skin and woolly hair, and, your shortcomings. Jake, there's nothing for Jake to murder each other, pick on each other, talk about each other. Oh, you nappy-headed nigga, you nappy-headed nigga. You bald-headed, I'm light-skinned, and, I got green eyes, I'm Puerto Rican. Brothers and sisters heard it, But, going back. So it says, in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like to the sword, his head, verse 14, his head and his head were like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. He drank wine, and his feet like unto fine brass. Let's look up the color brass. Let's look up brass. That came right up. Okay. You see that? Rich. You see the color now. You see the color. The one thing is going to go right into it. So, look at that image. So it says, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Right off top, I think of, now, I'm going to go back into the beginning, but it said he had a deep voice. So when you look at people with deep voices, right off top, I think of CL Smooth from, Pete Rock and CL Smooth, Barry White. Those two come to my mind right off the top. So it says, as if they burn in a furnace. So if you put anything in a furnace, it's gonna come what? Dark. And then, one thing I always notice about dark-skinned Jake, so-called black men or black women here in America, if they are dark-skinned and take care of their skin, their skin does, when the sun hits them, it's like a very rich and nice, beautiful look. But again, Esau demonized it. So now let's go. Now let's go to. Okay, it said Woolahan ancient Kemet. All right, let's go to Moses. The story of Moses. And so I didn't have anything lined up, but I remember I wanted to do this lesson about Tommy Sotomayor. He was basically saying it. It was a damn shame how being dark skinned is like it's like a curse, or how you say it. Basically, it was a lot of ridicule for being dark skinned, and if you were light skinned, you pretty much had a pass. So Moses hand on in his bosom. Okay. So it says, Exodus 4 and 6, and the Lord said furthermore unto him, Put now thy hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. So let's look at what a leper's hand looked like. Because it couldn't be white. Couldn't already be looking like a so-called white man. So let's see. Let me see. Leper's hand. What the hell is going on here? Lepers. What the hell is going on here? They showing me everything else but lepers. Okay, vitiligo. Let's just go to vitiligo. I'm saying it. Vitiligo. There we go. But my point is this right here, your hand. Losing his pigmentation. So let's go back. And when he took out behold, his hand was leprous as snow, and he said, Put that hand into thy bosom. Again, and he put his hand back into his bosom again, and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it would turn again as his other flesh. What was his other flesh? Brown skin. Because, and one reason why they didn't have to really go into it, because it was known that Jake was, how you say it, melanated or brown skinned people. They didn't look like a goddamn Edomite. But leave it to Esau, leave it to Beaver, everybody was white. And I guess so-called blacks just came out of nowhere, dropped out of somewhere, and Esau had to enslave them because they were nasty, pretty much monkeys, according to Esau. So again, let's go to Moses and Moses being called Egyptian baby. Let me see if that come up. So let me see if I can get to the point. I'm sorry, 2. Exodus 2. And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river brink. And his sister stood far off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew woman, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went. Yeah, all right. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, and she said, because I drew him out of the water. Now, the point was this: she took him as as her son. Now, why would she take something, that looking like this, like a clean? Well, if all this pick, according to the law of leprosy, you're a clean leper. When all the flesh goeth away. But that's not so. What's another one? Oh yeah, Joseph. Now Joseph, hold on. All right, so boom. If you read, I'm not going to go into the full thing, but you can read about it. Now Joseph is the forefathers of Ephraim and Manasseh, so-called Puerto Ricans and Cubans. And one thing I can say about being around Cubans and Puerto Ricans, so-called Puerto Ricans and Cubans, always had a sense of what you would call it, somewhat, this African, how you say it, African, how you say it, man, what's the word? They always had a sense of pride of, acknowledging, yes, they're from Africa, that, their forefathers, etc. So, but my point is this, Puerto Ricans, is showing you some Puerto Ricans, so-called Puerto Ricans, because Joseph is their forefather. And then let's look at Cubans. And those would be your so-called Cubans. And again, I say this going back to, matter of fact, let's do this. Okay, boom. Ancient Egyptians. And it's funny as hell to me too, because when you go back into like ancient Egyptians, and one thing I can say, my grandfather had a lot of books about ancient Egypt, and I remember there was a time when I threw all them shits away. Maybe some years back. But one thing I can say, I should have kept some, because it really depicted the color of ancient Egyptians as being brown skin, dark. And again, I bring this up so this point right here. And when you read about the story about Joseph, the forefathers of Ephraim and Manasseh, so-called Puerto Ricans and Cubans, his brothers, his other 11 brothers, didn't know that was Joseph, because he looked like the other Egyptians. So this is Genesis 45:1. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all of them that stood by him, and he cried, because every man did go out from me, and they stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians in the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said unto his brother, I am Joseph. Do my father yet live? And his brother could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. And Joseph said to his brother, Come near to me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved nor angry with yourself that you sold me hither, for Yahweh Shem Shah did send me before you to preserve life. So again, the point was, his brothers didn't know he was an Egyptian, because they thought he was an Egyptian. They go some color for your ass. But, Esau, according to Esau, everything in the Bible looked like this. So you have to erase this. So, hey, just like I was brought out that point about Joseph being our forefather of Ephraim and Manasseh, you so-called, you so-called Latino Hispanics, man, I gotta get this fucking image out of your heads, you know. One thing me growing up around Ephraim, and my a lot of my family, well, my father's side being from Cuba, and being around my family over there, they do have a sense of how you say it, knowing that they have so-called African roots, not knowing that they're Israelites. But my point is, they acknowledge them being dark, but their lineage go back to Israel. Bear with me again. Didn't have everything. Just trying to remember. I think it's another point that I wanted to make, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to be too idle with this lesson. Damn. I'm gonna go and wrap it up. I think that's the point. As the scripture says, in the land where thee were called no people, you shall be called, the sons of the living power. We've been ridiculed here and brought low. Our nation, our enemies had, sought to erase the name Israel and tried to obliterate us and destroy us as being a nation, but the Lord had kept a remnant. And this is what you see in the forefront, Israelites being brought back into the knowing of who they are. And, instead of our heads being down, because again, going back to this narrate, and everybody's ashamed, man. If you dark, really pretty much nobody really wants to deal with you. A lot of the Northern Kingdom women, they always, wanted the fair. And even the so-called nigger woman, if she had their pick of the choice, either one in light skin or Brad or Chad or Edomite, this right here was not really the good to go. This is not, on everybody's list. And in the other nation, damn sure don't want no parts of you. But the thing about it, our image was destroyed, but now being brought back to remembrance. If anybody had a choice, again, you don't. When people come to America, they don't teach or tell their daughters, get you a dark-skinned man, or dark-skinned people. Jake have a bad stigma on them, But really, in all actuality, people should be saying, stay the fuck away from this. Anything that look like this, that's a recessive gene. Blue eyes, so-called white skin, red skin, stringy hair. That's really a curse. These Edomites, they can't even stand in the sun. But those words was edified. Hey, with them, say shalom.